Welcome to Oregon Voters Digest, the program that brings forward the social and political issues that are important to people living here in the Pacific Northwest. And now, your host, Bruce Broussard.
Welcome again to this segment of the Oregon Voters Digest. I'm Bruce Broussard, your host. Folks, you know we're getting ready to get well into the elections. And as you know, you got national elections, you've got local elections, you've got state elections, and whatever. But in all due respect, you know, we're going to probably spend most of our time here in the state of Oregon. And since we've got the largest city in the state of Oregon, here in Portland, Oregon, we're going to probably be spending quite a bit of time on many of the issues that are impacted basically all over the state, for that matter. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to go through a series, if you will, from the standpoint of what is it going to take to try to find this leadership that we need here in this area, and figure out what the issues are once we've identified the leaders. So therefore, we'll have even a better place to live. We got a lot of issues out there now, but the fact of the matter is the leaders are out there, and hopefully they're watching the show. And so now what we're going to do, we're going to go through the first phase is that, okay, if you're interested in running for office, there's a process, and we're going to spend some time on that process. And that process normally goes through the auditor's office. That's an elected position, if you will. So I went out and I contacted the elections division, and all of a sudden I found the expert. Deborah is with us today. Deborah Scrogan, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, and she's born and raised right here in Portland, Oregon. If anybody knows Portland, Oregon, Deborah's it. She's gone to school here, the university, the whole works and whatever. But we've got her here, and she's going to go through this process. And we've identified some questions that I will be asking her, and it's going to be basic sort of education. So the bottom line is that it's going to be on YouTube. It's going to be on YouTube also too. So if you know of anyone that you think might would like to basically run for office or this, that, and the other, have them look at this visual concept. And by the way, she's available there at the auditor's office. So if you want any other questions answered, we're going to make sure we put that phone number. In fact, Jim, put that number under her name too, her phone number, and we'll ask her about that number. Okay, all right. There we go. Put our phone number right there. You should have it on that business card. Okay, good. All right, Deb, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Hey,
Thanks
appreciate
for having
it.
me.
Hey, thank you for coming over here. As you know, we got open signal. You know, that is community television.
Absolutely.
And we really want to get out there too. So hopefully we can get that out there. So why don't we just start off first? Is that why don't we talk about the auditor's office for a minute?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So the auditor is an elected position. She's elected citywide, and she helps promote open and accountable government. So she provides access to information. The office provides access to information and oversees impartial reviews of government. So there's 7 different divisions, and those different divisions do all sorts of different things, very disparate. Some of them are focused on transparency, and some of them are focused on accountability. So folks are probably most familiar with the Audit Services Division, and they provide access to impartial reviews of city government and try to make that information available to the public through their several audits throughout the year.
Is that an ongoing deal, or is it sort of like give us an idea?
So the auditor, with the help input of the public, creates an audit schedule, and then throughout the year conducts audits of city government work and provides that information out to the public and makes recommendations to the city council.
Okay.
There's also the independent police review, which does a review of sworn police officers and complaints against them.
Oh, really?
Yes, as well as policy and other types of reviews. So,
and those are presented through the city council. Is that the idea? How do you market that out to get it to the people?
So how does the auditor's office market it? Well, that's why I'm here.
Okay.
They try to get into the community. Folks are welcome to come in and if they've had a bad experience with a police officer, or if they have a complaint against the city government, they can come see the city ombudsman, who tries to make sure that we're being fair and that folks are treated fairly throughout the government process. Yeah.
When you said that, I was thinking my first thought was the review committee. The audit review.
Oh, the Citizens Review Committee.
The review.
Yes.
That's still in existence. You work with those folks too?
The Police Review Division does, that is their oversight bodies, the
That's
CRC.
their oversight.
Yep.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
good. That's great. That's great.
We also have the City Council agenda, so the auditor tries to make sure that's a fair process, and then the City Archives Division as well, archives and records. So if folks want to come down to the research room and check out various history about the city and what their home used to look like back in the day or whatever, they're welcome to do that there as well.
Oh, that's neat. That's neat.
Yeah.
And who's our auditor? That's an elected position.
Mary Hull Caballero is our city auditor. She started her second term in 2019.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, good. We got to get her on here sometimes. That'll come over here and do it. Okay, now let's see. It was another thing I was wanting to do, but okay. What now we're talking about elections now. Let's talk about let's focus just on elections. Okay. What does a city elections do? You sort of kind of gave
The
us
City
that.
Elections Office.
Right.
So the City Elections Office helps make sure that folks can get access to the ballot, so that folks can run for office and make sure they're qualified to run for office. So the city has initiative and referendums, and that's a process where folks can file with the city proposed legislation, or they can react to legislation that the city has passed and file a referendum petition. So the Elections Office oversees those petition processes, make sure that they're done according to local and state law, and if they're qualified to the ballot, they help get that on there. And we also work with our partner agencies, Multnomah County Elections and the State of Oregon Elections Office. So we make sure that folks know how to run for office, and that's part of the reason why I'm here today too.
So actually, you go to the city to sign up.
Yes, if
As
you want to
opposed to
run
the
for a
county,
city office,
right.
you have to go to the City of Portland down in City Hall. Yep.
Okay. So if you want to change your party affiliation, I guess you go to the county as opposed to the city, right? Or can you guys
You would do that.
too?
You would do that with the voter registration process.
Voter registration
so
process.
OregonVotes.org is where you can go make sure that you're registered to vote. If you want to change any information about your voter registration, that's where you do it. And when the election happens, you can even go on there and see what happened to your ballot, where it was mailed to, when you
really?
mailed it back, where it is in the process.
Is that online?
That's online, yes.
And that's City of Portland. You guys pretty well monitor that piece. Oh,
You
yeah.
can get there from the
voter
city's
election.
website for sure, but
Oh, good.
OregonVotes.org is the state's website, and it's an easier one to remember.
Oh, cool. All right, good enough. Okay, let's go now. What offices are on the ballot in the city of Portland for the May 19th, 2020 election?
Yeah, so there's 3 offices that are going to be on the ballot. There's the mayor, commissioner position number 1, and commissioner position number 4. And so those are the 3 offices that will appear on the ballot May 19th, 2020.
Okay, good. And now, how does one have access to folks who have either? I guess it's not. We aren't filing right yet, not right.
Can't file until September 12th,
Okay,
2019.
so they don't have to. Can they announce? I mean, can they just go around
Sure.
and announce
Absolutely.
and say, "Look, I'm running for office"?
Absolutely.
Okay, you can do that, right? But May.
For the May
September.
19th, 2020 election, the first date to file is September 12th.
September 12th. Remember that, folks.
Coming up.
September 12th, and it's coming up right away. And then once you've done that, you are in the game.
Well, you have to make sure you're qualified first.
You got to be qualified. Let's talk about that
Okay.
application form aspect.
Okay.
That's kind of interesting form, by the way. You don't happen to have a copy of that, do you?
It will be up on the website shortly.
Okay.
Yes.
So basically, what's on that form, Lisa?
So the form is basically just tells the public, here's why I want to run for office, and here's my qualifications. Here's my occupational background. Here's my educational background, prior government experience. It's sort of just the first formal step to officially get yourself on the ballot. From there, we do qualifications check to make sure that you're qualified to run for office in the city. But yeah, and then that form just has some basic information about campaign finance and gets the whole process started.
Okay. Now it doesn't get involved with the issues, if you will.
No, it doesn't. It's a very
I'm gonna ask
basic
you about
form.
the
Yep.
basic form. Name,
That's the part of any candidate's campaign.
Okay,
Yep.
so name, you got an address, you're a resident, that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Just basic
the
stuff.
basic stuff, right?
And a phone number.
Yes, we
a
do
phone
require
number?
a phone number. Yep.
Okay, you got a phone number and an address, right?
Yes.
Can you have a P.O. box?
Yes, you can do a P.O. box as long as I have an address. That's totally fine.
Okay.
One of the qualifications is that you are a registered voter.
A
So,
registered voter.
yep. in the city of Portland.
Okay,
In the city limits.
okay. Because a lot of times, when you start thinking about especially today, beforehand, it was easy. You give your phone number and address of your home and whatever. But things have been happening so much, people tend to like to run away from that. They like the P.O. box, because they don't want people knocking on their door right then and there and complaining right then and there. See, because they just start, right? You got me?
Well, I do need a form of ID too. To
A
make
form of
sure
ID?
Yep.
What,
That's
so
required.
maybe
of
driver's
folks.
license, maybe, or
Yep,
something.
that works
And
absolutely.
if you don't get that, then what happens?
Well, there's different process that can, if you don't have a government issued ID, then
Okay.
we can work with you. But that is really helpful to make sure that you're qualified as a registered voter and that you've lived in the city for a year prior to the election.
Oh, okay. And so proof, like you said, like paying bills and things of that nature.
Yep,
you can
that
show
helps
that?
establish residency. Yes,
Okay,
yes,
okay,
yes,
okay.
that helps.
Well, that's just the basic stuff. But
Yep.
but you don't get into the deal where you're requiring them to. Can you identify your reasoning for running for office? You don't do that. do you?
No, nope. That
Really?
is a part of
Really?
anyone's
What-
campaign.
People have been talking to me about that, Sandra. Can't they at least identify the issues?
People can have whatever issues that they want to.
Oh,
People
okay.
bring all sorts of different issues to running
Do
for
they?
office, and
Okay.
we're here to make sure you have access to the ballot and that
Okay.
and that folks can get
So,
on
so
there
if a
they want
person
to.
brings a resume with them, and they fill out the form, can that be attached to their registration form?
They can certainly submit that to me. I won't necessarily post it or use it in their
Ah,
qualifications
okay.
check, but I'm happy to take a resume.
Okay, take the resume. but like you said,
Certainly
lot of
not a
times-
requirement.
Okay.
Yeah.
But a lot of times people say, "Well, gee whiz, I've got this. Everything spills. I'm looking really great on my resume."
There's the elections process, and then there's the campaign process.
Okay,
We're not
right.
involved in the
Okay,
second
okay.
part of it. We leave that up to the candidates.
Okay. All right. Well, sometimes these politicians, they want it all. Okay. All right, then. That's good. Hope we got that one going pretty good. Okay, we got that. We did the 19th deal. When can people file? We sort of talked about that before.
Yeah.
about
Did you want me to go over the
Yeah,
qualifications?
let's go over
though?
qualifications on
so
that, please.
the qualifications to run for office in the city of Portland are to be a U.S. citizen, resident of the state of Oregon,
Mm-hmm.
and the city of Portland. You also need to make sure that you can establish residency in the city limits for a year prior to the May election.
Mm-hmm.
So we look for residency from May 19th, 2019. That would be a year prior to the May 19th, 2020 election.
Okay,
Yeah, so you have to make
okay.
sure that you were living in the city a year prior to the election, and that you're an active registered voter in the city.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Now I understand that it's a nonpartisan kind of deal, right? For
Absolutely.
All,
All
of them?
the
Okay.
offices in the city of Portland are
But
nonpartisan.
are they still required to at least file their party affiliations?
Not as a part of this process. Yeah, it's
You have to file
specifically a
it.
nonpartisan form, and the whole process is nonpartisan, so it's not
Okay.
listed on the ballot either.
Okay, so no one has to identify themselves as a Republican, an independent, a libertarian. They can just leave that area blank. Is that
There
right?
is no area to fill that out
There's
because
no
it's
area.
nonpartisan.
Oh, it's a
specifically.
nonpartisan.
Yes,
Oh, okay,
yes,
okay.
Yep.
What if a citizen calls up and says, "Well, gee, what about what party affiliation will you
Oh,
share
I
that with
would reference them to. I would refer them to the OregonVotes.org and the person's voter registration record, because you can
At the
look
county?
up. You can look up, whether someone's a registered, working families party, or what have you.
Okay.
But that's not something that is put on the form.
That's not on the form.
Yeah, according to city code and charter, we're nonpartisan. So.
Yeah, people get a little sticky about that, especially now. The national campaign drives everything to a certain degree. So I hope you get that, because I think that's a very important piece. 'Cause a lot of times people are somewhat fearful about that. And we're sort of drawn into this whole national elections kind of a thing, and it gets really tough. So,
Yeah.
but unlike Portland, unlike Portland, we're gonna have a good, fine, very responsible campaign kind of a deal, right?
Absolutely.
That's why you're here,
Yeah,
helping us out. Okay,
absolutely.
good. Okay, we did that. How does someone become a candidate to appear on the ballot?
Well, so I just went over those qualifications,
Right.
and you would come into City Hall, give me your ID, and fill out that form we talked about. And there are two different ways that you can file for office. So there's the declaration and fee, which you're saying, I would like to run for office, and here's my fee. It's $50 to run for mayor, $30 to run for commissioner.
Okay.
Or if you didn't want to do the fee, there's the other option, which is a nominating petition process.
Okay. That's
And that's
impressive.
where it's basically where you go out in the community and have other folks nominate you to be on the
Okay.
ballot.
How many do you need
You
for
need
mayor?
100 signatures at
For each,
least.
either mayor or city council.
Doesn't matter what
Doesn't matter.
position. You need 100 valid registered City of Portland voters to sign a form with your basic information on it. And that would be, and we do a qualification check to make sure that that was done accurately. Whenever you're done, you submit those signatures to us, and that would be in lieu of the fee, the $30 or $50.
Oh, cool,
Yeah.
cool. And I take it that you can also access that on your computer
Yes.
too, if you want to,
Yes,
right?
absolutely,
And
yep.
what about the forms? Is there forms?
Those forms will all be on the online.
Okay,
Yep,
so
absolutely.
you can get those forms, and then you can go out and do your thing, and then take
Come
them
into
into
the
city.
office first.
Come to the office
see me
first.
first.
Okay.
Come see the
okay.
elections office
Okay.
first. We'll get you all squared away, and then you can go out and collect your signatures
Oh,
in the
okay.
community.
That's
Yep.
good. That's good. That's good. Okay, good. Now,
The first day you can do that, by the way, again, is September 12th. So can't have folks going out and collecting signatures right now, but they can start on September 12th. They come see. Come to
September
the
12th
office.
when you come to the
Yep,
office. Okay.
absolutely.
Now, as far as that form going around and knocking on the neighbor's door or whatever, is there what do you share with them from the standpoint? Well, I guess you have to ask them about their background and whether or not they qualify.
Yeah, that's part of the whole
Okay,
campaign.
good. And so what do you think? What questions do they ask of their neighbors? Some of the same stuff you're asking.
Well, on the form, you're basically saying, would you nominate me to be on the ballot?
That's the main thing.
Would you nominate me to be on the ballot for the May 19, 2020
Okay,
election?
okay.
And then whatever issues they want to bring up about their campaign or discuss with the public, we leave that up to all the
Okay,
candidates to
okay.
figure that piece out. Yep.
And normally there's the form's pretty well validated with the seal, right? The city.
Yes.
You got the city on there.
Yeah, we actually use the state's form
You
for that
get
one.
the state form
Yep,
for that one.
yep.
Okay, okay. The other thing is that there's no such thing as them having to identify that with their social security number.
No,
There's
no,
social security
absolutely
number.
not.
No last four.
No,
Okay,
no,
no
not
social
on
security.
this form. No, not at all.
Okay, no checking account. number.
No, so it has your name and the office that you're running for, your jurisdiction, so say City of Portland,
Okay.
so that anyone who is being asked to sign the form can look and see what they're signing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Okay.
No social security numbers involved.
No security. That's a problem. A lot of times the seniors,
Yes, no bank accounts,
yeah,
no
yeah, yeah.
social security numbers.
Now, will a person have to carry a badge of some sort or something identifiable?
No,
Well,
from
yeah.
our perspective, all we need is that filled out form with the registered voters signing off that they nominate you to be on the ballot.
Well, there's a lot of seniors out there right now. And
Absolutely,
sometimes
yeah.
folks don't answer the door and this, that, and the other. And just kind of a little cautious about.
Always good to ask questions.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah, ask those questions.
Yep.
Look at the form possibly and.
Yep. If there's
you-
any questions, you can always give us
Give
give
you
our
guys
office a call.
Okay, good.
Say, is this
that
legitimate?
is
this
that number on
legitimate?
the form?
Absolutely, yes. it
Okay,
is.
good. Is there a notation down there that says that so seniors can read that?
Yes, it is. We'll increase that font size.
Is
Thank
that
you
right?
for the tip.
Yeah,
we
please.
will
Yeah,
increase
do that. That was a good one. Okay, then we got that one. Why should people care about city elections and getting involved? Now that's huge.
Well, if folks are interested in getting involved in their community, one of the best ways that you can have your voice heard is to vote, right? Find a candidate that you support. If you don't like one that you support, maybe think about running for office. And I think that's the best way that you can get involved locally in your community and have your voice really heard. Especially right now, it's going to be a big election. We have the mayors on the ballot and the 2 commissioner seats, and there's going to be a lot of candidates. So I think it's a good time for folks to be thinking about, learning about the candidates, learning about the issues, and seeing how they can participate in any of those campaigns if they want to.
Well, not only you have the voters pamphlet, if you will.
Yes.
But again, there's a cost involved in that. And it's about, I think about $300 or something like that.
Yes.
And that's pretty spendy a lot of times.
Yes.
And a lot of times you get just a little average person. But some way, shape, or form, they ought to consider that to a certain degree. And
Yeah.
like their photo and stuff like that, and so, just a little something basic, even just putting the form back that they filed to run in, so to speak. I realize that when they get the ballot, you got the name, right?
Yep.
You just got the name.
You just got the
And-
name.
And that's all you have, you know what I mean? But
Yeah, candidates are responsible for filling out that candidate form in the voters pamphlet.
Voters
Yep.
pamphlet, see.
Yep.
So that's part. And then you got the League of Women Voters. They got a number of entities like that.
Absolutely.
But it would be neat to see if there was something from him sharing with your office for that matter.
Yes.
Because a lot of times
Your point is well taken.
Yeah,
It's not cheap to run for office.
it's not cheap. It's not cheap. We won't go in this other thing that the city has been looking at But that's a whole different ball game. But we went the first time, and we went the second time, and hopefully I'm going to try to get those folks to come on the show and educate the folks about that piece. And
Yeah, I will just briefly mention it. There's
yeah.
a new city program called Open and Accountable Elections,
Okay.
and provides public campaign financing for qualified candidates and qualified contributions. And I encourage folks to learn more about it. It's very detailed, and there's training and forms all up on the website right now.
Good.
They can contact the director of that program, portlandoregon.gov/OAE, Open and Accountable Elections.
Oh, great. Well, that's for the little people and whomever wants to run, right? You can find some dollars there for a change. You don't have to refinance your house.
Yep. There are
And-
certain limits of expenditures and contributions that are involved
Exactly.
there, but I encourage
Exactly.
folks to learn more about it, for sure.
That's a good deal. We're going to talk a little bit more about that.
That is not
at
overseen
another
by
point
the
in time.
auditor's office, just to be
Yeah.
clear. That's
Right,
overseen.
right.
It's a separate program,
Right.
but this is the first year, the first election cycle that it will be in effect.
Well, you know, I might mention that Commissioner Amanda Fritz is kind of like sort of oversees that piece, so to speak. I think. Yeah. You can always give her a call. She's a very open person, kind of routine. Just give her a call and say, "Hey, look, blah blah blah. I heard your name about this piece or whatever." Now, you know, thinking about that. Now let's talk about age. Age factor.
Okay.
As far as running for office,
Yeah.
what's the age factor?
I don't know what is the age, but there is no age.
There's no age factor.
Well, you have to be a registered voter, which means you have to be at least 18. But
18, right?
yeah,
18
right.
on that end.
Yep.
What about the other end?
There is no limit.
There's no limit.
Yes.
Well, then, but
Encourage centenarians, octogenarians, everyone who's
Really?
interested
Really?
to come and.
Boy, I
yeah.
tell you, that's a very interesting piece because sometimes you know you get a lot of these guys and our folks for that matter who wants to run it. They know the issues. They got a lot of things going, if you will, and sometimes it's kind of neat getting folks involved in the process to help the other folks who are running for office about different issues. And most of these people are retired and stuff like that. And so you're saying that's open.
Yeah, I've had high schoolers who have come in to run for office and folks in their 90s. So we welcome.
In the 90s?
Yeah.
Well, I'm in good shape. I think I might go on and run for office. See, a lot of folks tend to kind of, you know, the media tend to play games with the older folks by calling them perennials and stuff. Well, perennials, they're too old and this, that, and the other. Even as I look at the presidential election, I think about Biden and I think about these the older guys that are running. But at the same time, you forget things a little bit, but they've got a lot of wisdom and been around.
I'm always happy to help anyone fill out any
Will you?
forms or figure out the
Oh, really?
process. Just give me a call. Yep.
Well, good. There you see it. You got that. So if you want to run for office and you're sitting up there at 85, 90 or whatever, as long as you can write, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just come on up there.
Yep.
Can you file by on the phone?
You cannot file on the phone,
Oh.
unfortunately. You got to come down and visit us at City Hall. But we're accessible via TriMet and bus and Max.
Okay,
and,
cool,
Yep.
cool.
And scooter.
Tell me that. Yeah, if they're in a wheelchair, can they come up there
Yep,
and sign?
absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
We're on the first floor.
On the first floor.
Mm-hmm.
You got that? That's great. That's great. Now you can't be incarcerated inside. I'm sure. If you're sitting up in jail, can you do that too?
No, unfortunately, we won't be able to take your filing if
You
you're
can't.
in jail.
You won't do that in the
Yeah,
jail. Okay.
yeah.
Even if they release you for a moment or two, just to go down and file.
Well, if you're otherwise qualified, I'm happy to take your filing. If you can come to me.
That's the key.
Yep. Come find me with all your forms. I'm happy to take your filing.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. That's good. I like that. That's good. Let's see. And then the last thing is that. And let's see, is there anything new that the public should be aware of regarding city elections?
Yeah, there's a couple of new regulations that have passed recently about disclosures for campaigns that are required for various types of ads and communications, and there'll be more information coming out about that soon. And there's some other regulations about campaign finance that are going to be really important for any serious candidates to learn about. So whenever you come in to run for office, I'm happy to share that information. It'll all be in the candidate filing packet. And so there's a lot of new stuff going on up there, and certainly the Open and Accountable Elections is also
Okay.
a new program for the city in 2020.
Oh, that's what I want to ask you. As far as those filing packets,
Yeah.
you have to go to your office to get those.
It'll
You have to be a
it's-
candidate.
No, they can go online as well and
You can go
download
online.
all of the forms that
You
you
know-
need.
oh,
We'll leave
okay.
And you can even fill it out online if you'd like, and then just print it out and bring it to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's a good deal too, just in case,
Yep.
Especially seniors, folks that may not know all of the ins and out about running, filling the forms.
Yeah.
When they have access with you.
And someone can even give me a call and I can mail them the forms if they'd like.
Okay. That's quite a service.
Yeah,
That's neat.
absolutely.
That's really neat. Really neat. You're a busy lady. You're going to be very busy, Deborah.
Yeah.
Very busy. Now, understand there are a couple of measures, too, that you're going to on the ballot.
Yes, so there is a special election coming up this November. I encourage folks to check on your voter registration now. Go to OregonVotes.org. Make sure you're registered to vote. The city is having a special election November 5th, 2019, and there'll be 2 measures on the ballot. So
That's upcoming.
Yep, upcoming just this November.
Those are big.
There's
Those
a
are
special
huge.
election.
And what are they? What are they?
I'm not going to talk too much about them, but they're city
Yeah.
referred measures. They're regarding the city's Bull Run watershed
Bull Run,
and
okay.
critical water issues.
That's
so
critical.
definitely encourage folks to learn more
Look
about
into that.
them. And if they're registered to vote, they'll get that pamphlet with all the information, the ballot title, and all
Those are
of
going to
that.
be mailed out here shortly?
Yes, it'll be mailed out in October for the
Okay.
November election.
Okay,
Yep.
so you got water on there. And you got an education issue up there. What's the
I
other?
believe Portland Public Schools.
Portland Public Schools,
And,
what are they?
and Metro will also be
And
on
Metro,
the ballot.
so you got 3 of them.
Yeah, so but
Wow.
I
You can't. I
won't
know
talk on their
I know
behalf.
that.
I'll let them
But
talk.
the fact of the matter, they're going to be there, and that
There's a couple,
information.
it'll be there'll
A
be
mail out?
several things on the ballot.
Okay,
So-
on the
so,
ballot. But
yeah.
will they mail out information beforehand?
Yes, they always
Okay.
mail that voters pamphlet out so folks can read about all the issues.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. Then you can get the rest of it here on Oregon Voters Digest. I'll show it to you, and we'll discuss it. Okay, we're trying to get maybe some of the key people that are running along that line. Well, that's good. Are there any other good points that we need to bring up? Maybe just briefly go through the little overview.
Okay.
Okay, go on. Just go down the line real quick, like, and just say, well, just basic stuff.
Okay.
If you want to run for office.
If you want to run for office, come down to City Hall. We're happy to take your filing. Make sure you're a registered voter, that you've lived in the city for a year prior to the election, that you're a U.S. citizen. We'll have the forms online, and you can fill them out there and print them out. We need your ID. Happy to answer any questions about either the special election coming up or the 2020 elections. And if I'm not the right person, we'll make sure to get you to the right person.
And we've got your phone number on the screen there, right there, and then you can just
Yep.
go down and just give you a call, right? And you go from there.
Yep,
And
3
then-
offices on the ballot, and it's going to be a big one.
Okay, and
Yeah.
then the age factor, 18 and above, no problem.
Absolutely not.
Okay, good. And just the basic stuff, okay? All right, then, that sounds good. Well, Deborah, you've done a good job. I think you've done a real good job. And for those of you who are out there, if you're interested in running for office, there it is. There's the roadmap. And you can file on the 13th. Was that the 13th?
September 12th,
September 12th.
2019
See
is
that?
the first date to
I
file
go
for
again already.
office.
The
Yep.
12th. The 12th. It's not the 13th. It's
You
the
can
12th.
come on the 13th as well.
That's a good one. Not the 11th.
Not the 11th.
Okay, good.
You
Okay,
can come
good.
say hello
Okay,
anytime, but I
all
won't
right.
be able to take your filing. then.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Sounds great. Let's see. Anything else that you think you should bring out?
But I'll just keep an eye on the website for more information,
Okay.
and we'll be sending stuff out as it's available. PortlandOregon.gov/auditor/elections, or you can just Google Portland elections and it'll
There's
pop
Portland elections.
up.
Yep.
Yep. Or you can give me a call at any time.
Awesome. Hope you got that, folks. That sounds good. Well, Deb, you did a good job.
Thank
I
you.
want to thank you very much, and thank the auditor, by the way, for allowing you to come here and share with the public here.
Absolutely.
And I think the voting public they're going to really appreciate the fact that you shared that with us, because too often they tend not to know. And then in the last minute, et cetera, et cetera. And then we're vote by mail kind of a situation.
Yes.
So a lot of them are just round file and stuff. This way they can get involved.
Absolutely.
They got to get involved, whether you want to run for office. And it's not a matter of saying, well, I got to have the monies to run or anything of that nature. You can just run for office if you want to, and you don't have to refinance your house and all this other good stuff. You can just
Shouldn't
say,
have to, no.
And that's right, you shouldn't. But guess what? Those who do, they do. But, okay. So again, thank you very much, Deb.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's great,
Appreciate it.
fantastic. Well, folks, thank you very much. I tell you what, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
You are watching Oregon Voters Digest. This program can be seen again on these channels on these dates and times. Tell a friend.
Welcome back, folks, to the Oregon Voters Digest. I'm Bruce Broussard, your host. I hope you enjoyed the show, the last 30 minutes or so. We, again, like I said, we're getting right into the election process, and it's very important to see whether or not we might be able to pick up some fresh leadership here in our city and in our state, and in fact, nationwide. We've got all sorts of activities. So we're starting early, trying to educate folks and inform them what are the processes. And we started out with basically educating folks about if you're interested in running for office. That's basically what we focused on the show this past 30 minutes, and then what that entails and the like. And it was mentioned that you just go right there to the city of Portland. We just use that race, but you can go to other areas. The state's going to have some things involved naturally. That's the 2020 elections in many ways, but we got the May election and everything's going to be coming up. Be cautious about watching the media because, as you note, it's not a nonpartisan view in many ways because that's just the way politics has been presented to us via the media across the board, whether it be newspaper, radio, TV, the like. And sometimes it can be it's a challenging process, because you it's an economic, monetary kind of a thing because they're selling ads. So consequently, in most cases, most of the information that's given, or in some cases, they may look negative. It may look negative because you got a pro and a con type routine, but you have to just kind of be able to take the time to really understand where it's coming from. And so consequently, you can come to shows like myself because that's exactly what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be basically trying to educate the public and educate the voter as to what the issues are and the candidates who are identified with the issues. And I would suggest that one thing you want to remember is that when you're looking at a candidate and a numbering aspect of it, hopefully you can identify the issues beforehand. In fact, that's some of the things that we're going to do here at the Oregon Voters Digest. Again, like I said, for instance, here at the city of Portland, we're going to really follow that race because it really hits hard. This is the largest city in the state of Oregon, and many of the major issues that we are concerned with around the state are right here in the post-Portland metropolitan area. Transportation issues, that's huge. City is kind of like heavily involved in that piece aspect of it. When you think about the bridge, you think about 205, you think about I-5, things of that nature. So transportation is a major issue. And if you're driving to work, it's almost impossible as far as traffic flow is concerned around here. So that's another area. So we're going to probably spend some time identifying folks who know the facts about the congestions, if you will, and the problem that we're having in transportation. And hopefully we'll have to contact the city person who just so happened that the city commissioner has been given that responsibility to deal with transportation, and hopefully that person will show up and then talk to the issues. A lot of times you're talking about budgets and funds and whatever, but the fact of the matter is if a person is running for office, let's say in that particular case, because it just so happened, Commissioner Udaly is an incumbent, and she's going to be running for that seat again. She's in it now, and so consequently, the expectation is she's been basically dealing with that issue as much as possible. So, so consequently, we're going to try to interview her because she is a candidate, and we're going to be opening up the doors for anybody running for office. I mentioned city council, and then you got the mayor who's running. You know who Mayor Willie is. Mayor Willie is running. He's an incumbent. He would be an incumbent. And again, too, he's been basically trying to deal with the issues, and he's basically put them on board and responded accordingly. And if you've got some ideas that you can better the process, then guess what? You can file to run for office. Okay? It can be very expensive at times, but at least the city has made some accommodations to that, tried to respond to that, because monies will be available for those folks who are interested in running for office. But again, you got to go through a process to access those funds. Now, naturally, they're going to really tighten up on the requirements if, in fact, you apply for those funds. The city went through an issue with those same that same kind of a program first off, and I think Eric Sten was kind of like he was a incumbent commissioner. He was city commissioner. He ran and he got those funds, but there were some issues there that they've redotted the I's and crossed the T's. And Fritz is now Amanda Fritz who is the city commissioner, who's, by the way, her seat's going to be open, but she's kind of like the lead person on this particular funding source aspect of it. And but she's opted to leave, so she's going to be leaving. But the fact of the matter is, it's going to be available. So I would suggest that maybe take a gander at some of the qualifications for those funds. I plan to have someone from that particular group, if you will, that will come on the show here at Oregon Voters Digest and share with you what are the criterias, and we're going to really dig in it just to make sure you don't have to worry about making any mistakes. I've looked at it and it looks difficult, but trust me, we'll break it down and we'll get it right from the source as to what your needs are. So consequently, you'll be able to go on YouTube if you want to, and you just go on and hit Oregon Voters Digest on YouTube, and you can look at it over and over and over so that you can completely understand what it takes and what your requirements are to be able to access those kinds of funds. Because I tell you what, if you're a leader and you got a good idea that would solve some of these problems, trust me, the city of Portland is looking forward to hearing what you have to say. There are other sources out there that, again, like I said, there are other media sources that you can that communicates. Steve Dunn of KATU, I think it's Channel 2, does a pretty good job. He has your voice, your vote aspect of it, and you got that part, and he does some other things or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, that's a source. You got the various newspapers. Oregonian is a statewide newspaper, so you got that part, and then you got the other papers in the area. You got the Tribune, you got the Willamette Week, and then you got the community newspapers, and they're all over the place aspect of it. But those are the ones I just mentioned were probably the major resources aspect of it, because they're meeting more people, and in most cases they're a little bit more credible, so consequently they're meeting more people. And the others, and some of them are free, so many of them are free and whatever. But again, like I said, you still have to get to the candidate and try to get to those credible sources that will cite their background, and at the same time will spend enough time to identify, from a media standpoint, their interview with that person and on a specific issue, and to see whether or not they understand what the issues are, and they come up with a solution. This is not a free for all. We're looking for serious candidates, people who have the background on the issues aspect of it. And when I jump into that piece, automatically the first thing that comes to mind is what are some of the major issues facing the state, facing the country for that matter. Homelessness is huge. That's huge. The environmental issue, that's huge. People talk about that quite a bit. Okay, you got mental illness. You got that's heavy. But then when you start thinking about homeless, there's all sorts of things that comes under that particular bandwagon, meaning that in that particular area you got everything from homeless. You got mental illness, you got family issues, you got housing issues, you got food issues, you got drug issues, you got crime. It's huge. And thinking about Portland, Oregon, it's a huge problem here in the city of Portland. And like I said, we got 3 positions open. So, and that's the majority, by the way, of the vote. There are 5 people that sits on the way. And you got the mayor and you got 4 commissioners, and so that's kind of like a majority. So, if all of a sudden you got 3 votes, and then we just recently had 1 commissioner go on board, and that was Hardesty, Joanne Hardesty, and she's been pretty active along that particular line. But the fact of the matter is, we got 2 more positions that are going to be open. Nick Fish is going to be there. Commissioner Nick Fish is already there, and so you got him, and Joanne Hardesty. So you got that too, and then the other two are going to be open. Amanda Fritz will be won't be there any longer. That seat will be open, and Show You Daily, Commissioner You Daily, who will be running as incumbent for her seat. And then you got the mayor of the city of Portland. That's Ted Willer. Okay, with that. So you got that part. That's right. And then you. Then I noticed that there's a couple of ballot measures that's going to be out there, several of them, if you will. From education, always something on the board. I would suggest that you may have to go to a couple of those, or call up the school board, if you will. You got folks who have run for office. Give them a call. Just pick up the phone and give them a call, and ask them, what is that ballot measure? What does that mean, if you will? That's a very, very important piece. The education of our kids a very, very important aspect of it. And you've got again, you got on the ballot measure, you got water issues on that piece too. The Bull Run, that was the late Frank Ivancy. That was his thing. He did that years back, and the Bull Run has always been good sparkling water. Good. So I don't know what the issues are right now, but the fact of the matter is they're going to be there. Somebody's trying to either improve the system, or trying to. Normally it's supposed to be about improving the system. You know, if it's working well, then why are we trying to fix it? And okay, but again, I'm just throwing some stuff out to you. But I've been a little aware because we've been interviewing these folks through the years right here on Oregon Voters Digest, and and getting it out to you. And so along that line, you can always tell your friends if you want to have group sessions and whatever, and to talk about an issue, and we might have looked at, whether it be about mental illness, or crime, or whatever, transportation, or the bridge work, or anything of that nature. Interview the guests, and it's on YouTube, so you can get a group of folks in your neighborhood and sit around the table, put the coffee out, play the show, and then have a discussion among yourself. And then if you're really interested in it, you might be able to call one of those commissioners after you've looked at it all and invite them to your session. So the idea is to have maybe kind of a small mini candidates kind of a gathering, if you will. Have neighborhood parties and whatever, and invite the candidates to come and talk to you about your issue. A good point that comes to mind is the whole issue of homelessness. It is a major problems, you know, from the standpoint of all the tents around and this, that, and the other. Well, you can access those people, and the way you do it is during the election time. These people want to get elected to office, and so those who are running, you also then have access to the ones who are not running, because you're dealing in those areas where they may be sitting in that particular board, and you can ask those questions, and you can call them up, and then bring up their names, you know, and in all due respect, those are some of the things that I will do here. You know, I've run in the past and basically the same thing. But in most cases, I've been very acquainted with the issues, and it was fortunate. I was normally the person that was doing the interview, so consequently, I was learning something. But at the same time, I would ask the question of the person who was running for office, besides just, okay, that is the issue, but what is your solution? And so that's valuable. So I'm saying to you, you can really do something comparable to that by inviting a person running for office to come to your house, and they get very excited when you can say 10 or 20 people are going to be there sitting at your house having a cup of coffee, and you want to talk to them about the issues. Trust me, candidates will be more than glad to just be at your place or wherever, and you can visit your local restaurants and whatever, and a lot of times they will accommodate you. You just go in there and just tell them, look, I want to have about 5 or 6 or 10 people, depending, and I want to see whether or not we're going to have a candidate come over. Can we maybe get 2 or 3 tables together or something like that? And trust me, the restaurant owner will be very accommodating, because guess what? He's able to, he's making his living, he's going to pay some bills and whatever, and as long as it's orderly and things of that nature, he'll be more than glad to accommodate. That way you don't have to worry about having them at your home or something like that. So that's the point I want to really make to you. The police is basically the same thing. It always seems to be on the board, something that always needs to be discussed, if you will. And so invite them. I mean, you got chief. And one thing about the city of Portland, I'm talking city of Portland because that's the thing that pops up most of the time. That and school board and things of that nature, and everything else sort of like comes out on your tube. But again, the police thing is, but they're available. We've got a chief of police that basically works at the purview of the mayor aspect of it as chief outlaw, and she's there, a very personable individual, and she's getting that knowledge, if you will. And then you got an assistant chief. It's my understanding one of the assistants that works under the mayor's office, a gentleman by the name of King. And at one point in time, he used to be the union president of the Portland Police Department, and he's got a lot of knowledge. And there's a guy that you can call him up. He's very accommodating. He's very familiar with a lot of the issues and sitting on many tables, if you will, about people's comments or whatever, about law enforcement or whatever. You can call that person. Call him up. And in fact, I plan to give him a call. He's very knowledgeable, and I plan to give him a call and talk about some of the issues that you'd be concerned with. And I bring that point up because we've just we've just gone through a mass shootings. We have problems with that. The whole issue with the gun control and things of that nature. From a national standpoint, it made national news. But the fact of the matter is, we definitely want to solve that. We want to be able to solve that problem. We do not want that kind of issue, those events, to happen here in the state of Oregon, or more specifically, the city of Portland. Okay, and so that's why we have to work with, because we have to work with the police department, because in all due respect, they're the solution, folks, because that's basically what they are. They are law enforcement officers. They're law enforcement officers. They're not the mayor. They're not the city council. They're law enforcement officers. So they're enforcing the law that the city council give to them to talk to the policies or the rules and the regulations or the laws. But they are law enforcement officers, and I think too often we don't understand that. And I might make mention again, like I said, you want to call these folks that are running for city council and the mayor. Call them in your and like I said, with small groups, and ask him the question. What about this? What about this? What about that? What about this? And then we also have within our midst, when you start thinking about law enforcement officer, is a very critical point, is that Sheriff Reese, he is now, it's an elected position. Sheriff Reese is the Multnomah County Sheriff. So that's basically the entity that once the police picks someone up who basically broken the law, takes them over to the county, and it's called on the county jail, but I call it the vetting facility. What I mean by vetting facility, and why I made that statement, is that what they do at the county, once the police officer takes them over there, is that they wash them up, in all due respect, they clean them up, bathe and bath, the whole 9 yards, and clean them up and give them clothing, fresh, clean clothing, and then sort of then schedule them to meet the judge, and they go before the judge, and then the judge then discuss the issue that was part and parcel of the crime or whatever, and then based on that, he will then basically say, okay, fine, you go to USP up in Salem or something like that, or you go to this institution and you do this, or you spend some time over here or whatever. So that is the process. It's a vetting process. And it just so happened Chief Reese used to be Portland Police Chief at one point in time. Yes. So we got a relationship there. So, and Reese, is my understanding, was, he was born and raised here in Oregon, in Portland, Oregon. So he's very familiar with a lot of the folks, almost like Ted Wheeler. Ted Wheeler was born and raised right here in Portland, Oregon. And, so you expect these people to really know what the terrains are about. And but you can talk to them about this stuff, okay? And I want you to understand what I mean. It's a vetting facility. This is not a jail. It's a vetting facility. The jail time comes after the judge has interviewed them and looked at what crime they broke, what law they have broken, and then after that, then they're in jail then, because they got to pay their time. They got to do that time aspect of it, and so that's a very important piece. So we're fortunate to have the mayor running. So trust me, he will be more than accessible to come to small groups and talk to you, to talk to groups. Just be orderly and ask those questions. Ask the questions, but make sure, do not forget about solutions. And possibly the budget. A lot of times, there's always a cost in terms of the solution. So that's what that's all about. And then if you want to really get out there and venture into the marketplace of law enforcement, you may want to try to contact the lawyer, not the lawyer, if you will. I'm sorry, the labor leader, if you will, of the union. And this gentleman by name is Daryl Turner, very impressionable guy. He's look like, it's all about deterrent. He's the guy that handles the troops on ground. He's the guy that knows the troops, big time. He deals with them every day. But it's like any typical union issue. But the bottom line is that they are represented. The folks they are represented. I think they have one for officers too, like lieutenants and captains. They have their own little gathering or whatever. But but he's a key figure. That he'd be available any day, anytime you want to know about police work. And but I think we've been there's always been some major differences and concerns about law enforcement and police. But remember, the key thing is that they are law enforcement officers. They are law enforcement officers, and the laws that they are enforcing are the ones that come from us, the people, who elect the representative, like the mayor or the commissioners, and they're supposed to come up with a plan of action, and the police is at the table to talk to, and they're asked, how are you going to enforce the laws that we are sharing with you, as far as the police is concerned. They put that package together, they approve it, they vote on it, etc. And then after they've done that, they give it to the police. It's law. Inform the public about what's going down, and from that point on, it's in the system. And I've shared that with you. But my point is that you can spend some time with the labor folks, with Daryl Turner and the assistant chief or chief outlaw, this, that, and the other, and the mayor, and the other two commissioners. The other two folks the people who are going to be running for commissioner. You can talk to them, because you're looking at 3 votes. You're looking at the majority of votes that are running for office this time around. Okay, whether the mayor gets elected, if he's thinking about running again, but I'm sure he's going to probably run. But the bottom line is that that's the time to have that discussion. Okay, but the other 2 commissioners are there, but they're still going to be part of the process. But you can even call them. See, you can do that too. And then and you've got other areas that are running, but I think it's a very, very important piece, because that's a major, major piece here in this area. Because when you start thinking about homelessness and this, that, and the other, those are some major, major issues, and drugs and things of that nature. Now's the time to bring it to the table. Now's the time to ask the questions. Now's the time to ask the question about housing. What is the definition of housing? Well, I tell you, that's a toughie. A lot of folks we're still at a point now, we still don't understand what it means. But the fact of the matter is that, the houses that we're looking at here in the city of Portland, a lot of times they're all high-rise. You have to pay for those. You have to pay. It's not a free lunch. A lot of times you'll find free lunch for a few days or maybe a few weeks or whatever during the snow area or that kind of a deal. But the fact of the matter is, you got to pay, and for that piece. Now, other than that, what do? I got some ideas, but I'll share that with you at a later date. I'll be right up front with you. I'm going to share that at a later date, because I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm thinking about the possibility of putting my hat in there, put my hat in the ringer. You never know. But the fact of the matter, but most of my as far as my responsibility is to get the issues out to you, and also come up with some ideas of a solution, and then bring other folks around the table and get them involved. And so I'm encouraging folks to run for office. I'm encouraging you, run for office, whether it be the city, whether it be the county, whatever, wherever you're looking at this, run for office. Now is the time to do it. Now's the time to do it. We hear a lot about the presidential race aspect of it, and then the contention between the Republicans and Democrats. But now's the opportunity, if you will, to really talk about our issues. We've become very, very sophisticated in our country, and so consequently, every state has its own issues. Every city has its own issues. So, but the only way you can get this is the best time in the world to be able to access those. So don't stress yourself out with the rigors of of the media, because a lot of times that's what the media does in most cases. They're going back and forth, and they're interviewing candidates, but it's all about your background. You know, it's just how involved you are. What has been your background? It's all about exposure. What have you been exposed to? In fact, when I look at most of the folks that are there, they look nice, but the fact of the matter is they weren't there, and they weren't getting their hands dirty. But the ones that are getting their hands dirty, trust me, you'll know them, you'll notice them. Okay, it's always exciting when you can see them, when a candidate can talk from the standpoint that, you know, I've been homeless, if you will. That's exciting, because if the person has been there, he has some idea of a solution. You know, and listen to what they have to say. No problem with that. Throw it on the table. Take it. Emulate it. Say, hey, Joe Blow said this. This is where he was, etc. That kind of a deal. So that's a very, very, that's kind of giving you a better feel of where we're going right now. But this is a very, very important election. And as you know, and then I'm just going to jump just for a quick minute to the national deal. There's so much to be said about the national news today. We had some mass shootings and whatever. Our youth are having some tough times. So we have issues. We don't have the draft. You know, I was in the Marine Corps, and I was a recruiter. That's how I came to Portland, Oregon, as a Marine recruiter. And I had the facilities. I spent my time in Vietnam, but I traveled quite a bit. And, you know, you get to meet the world, and you get to be more responsible. But that was a tool, in all due respect. It's not like a perfect society, because everybody was working. If it didn't work, you went to the brig or something like that, or you lost a stripe, and then you went back to work. But the fact of the matter is, we've lost that. It was a good tool, if you will, to help those who lost it. Okay, so with that, my friends, I think I've given it all. I didn't get my guest this time around, but hopefully I've shared some good information for you. And the first show just really worked out real well, because it gave you sort of an idea of where you should be going. You've got to get involved. Do get involved, whether you run for office or you vote. And do vote this time around, okay? Again, I'm Bruce Broussard, your host. I won't see you next week. We'll have a rerun. But the following week, we'll have another good show. Enjoy your evening. Stay cool. It's pretty warm this week, but stay cool. I'll see you 2 weeks from now, okay? Have a good one.